This is the Grand Prix of Portland. Let's go!
I thought Will Power would get a jump, but it's Christian Lundgaard in that white and yellow car. The rookies looking to the inside.
Hinch, here they come.
Here they are, guys, 3 wide. Everyone trying to make it through. I see Colton Herta contact with Felix Rosenquist. 3 wide through turn 2, but amazingly, everybody gets through that first corner. We're breaking a trend here, but the lap's not over. Let's see if they can keep it tidy for another 10. And that clean, fresh air that's in front of him.
Here we go. Here we go. Looking the inside. Newgarden's got it. What a move.
Decisive on the brakes, Townsend. Very late, committed into turn 10, but kept it under control.
And 2 Penske's are going to come in. The top 2 in the race. Scott McLaughlin there in the blue and black Freightliner car. And there you see Will Power running second in the Verizon car in pit out. This is the primary stint for Scott McLaughlin. He easily wins that race off pit road. And now Will Power also. He is it. Watch the blend.
Can Pato Award get out ahead of Christian Lundgaard? This is going to be close.
Lundgaard's on hot tires, but they're black, so Award just needs to eliminate wheel spin here, don't get too crazy, and get down to turn 4 in the lead. He should be okay. See what happens to Connor Daly.
Big dribble of fuel there, and look at that. Off he goes.
I know it looks dramatic, guys, but that's not something that the teams panic about too much. A fire that size is not uncommon. It just burns itself out quite quickly.
It also helps warm up the right rear. On push to pass with coaching from the pit box. Lundgaard defends to the inside, but Newgarden switches him up.
Nice work. Nice work. Another one done. And in comparison, Newgarden is deficient on push to pass in comparison to Lundgaard, who tries to attack and counter-attack. Race leader is in. Kevin Lee, he's coming your way.
I think all 3 of the Penske's are coming in this lap, but the leader in that blue and black Freightliner car is going to get there first, but he's going to have to weave around the Joseph Newgarden crew. There you're seeing Castro Neves go by, Power diving in to his pit box. Newgarden there right in front of McLaughlin. Let's see what the tire choice is. They are doing the primaries for Newgarden, and it is used red for McLaughlin. Back out.
See what happens between Power and Award. Power gets back to the position he held. Newgarden 4th, so no change in the front. Rinus VK making a move on Jimmy Johnson. What happened here?
Oh my goodness, just turned right back into Jimmy Johnson.
Let's get a better angle here. This does not look like Jimmy Johnson's fault at all.
McLaughlin, Power, here we go. Portion over. We go back to racing with 22 laps remaining here at Portland International.
McLaughlin with a perfect jump on the throttle, looking at him swerve to clean up his tires and break the ground. Here's Award.
Big move from Pato Award. He hits Will Power, runs wide. Rossi's in the mix.
Look at Dixon. Look at Dixon with the run on Award. Dixon's going for 3rd now. Off his block. Pato Award has to give up a position to Scott Dixon. And as Dixon goes by, that side bod damage on Award. And what does that do for the points as they run right now? It puts Scott Dixon right into the mix. 20 points back in the championship.
Graham Rahal, Colton Herta, Graham Rahal, Joseph Newgarden.
And then Colton Herta in the background in that black and yellow Gamebridge Honda. He got by his teammate, Alexander Rossi. Let's go for a ride down the front straight as he works on Newgarden. Enjoy the ride. Track position, inside line, gotcha. Another one checked off Colton Herta's list.
Newgarden runs wide. He's going to do the over-under. Now Lundgaard going through turn 3. Clears Joseph Newgarden.
Brilliant stuff.
Not good. Big dive up the inside and then overshoots turn 1 only to smash into the NTT signage. And that thing got stuck for an entire lap. Scott McLaughlin got the pole in dominant fashion yesterday. Scott McLaughlin wins the Grand Prix of Portland for his 3rd career win.
Victory to the moon, let's go. Well done, team. Woo.
And the Thirsty Threes will celebrate tonight. 104 of the 110 laps led. That was McLaughlin's day.
Watch the Firestone Grand Prix of Monterey Sunday, September 11th at 3 p.m. on NBC.
As you've seen, a lot to discuss, a lot to analyze, a lot to go over. from last weekend's Grand Prix of Portland. Welcome to the 15th episode. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, 15th episode on this Thursday evening of the Push to Pass podcast. As always, I am Derik Vance. Josh, who has co-hosted with us here the last couple weeks, has a prior commitment, so he will not be joining us this evening. So if you were tuning in to hear his thoughts, his analysis from the Grand Prix of Portland last week, unfortunately, you are only going to be stuck with me here for the next hour or so. Also, too, as always, as we've had all year, we'll have Mike from Bet Indy, Burnout Sports, Burnout Bets join us to recap his week last week there at the Grand Prix of Portland, and then preview what is to come there at I think it's a WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. They're coming up this coming weekend for the Grand Prix of Monterey. But before we get to that, like I said, we do have to go back and analyze, discuss, and take a look at what was just 1 week ago, the Grand Prix of Portland. So without further ado, let's get into that, shall we? And as you've seen there in the opening, Scott McLaughlin, Team Penske, leading the way there in Portland just 1 short week or so ago. How will the common race fan remember the 2022 edition of the Portland Grand Prix? They will remember a clean start, surprisingly enough, if you remember, a late restart, and an all New Zealand and Australia podium, and a big performance by the main championship contenders. Team Penske teammates, pole sitter for the race last Sunday, Scott McLaughlin, and your current points leader, Will Power, spent the most of the afternoon running away from the other title hopefuls after starting 1 and 2 and finishing 1 and 2 as well for the captain, while Chip Ganassi's Scott Dixon performed another Portland miracle to complete the podium. Starting P16, Dixon was the only member of the Chip Ganassi racing team to make a serious forward progress by the end of the 110-lap race. Clearing 13 cars by the checkered flags, Dixon went from being all but eliminated in the championship by mid-race to sitting equal with Joseph Newgarden, not far behind Power, entering Monterey this weekend. With the lap 89 restart for Rinus VeeKay, netting Jimmy Johnson into the turn 1 wall, McLaughlin continued his mastery, driving out a manageable lead over the aforementioned Will Power. With Dixon on the charge, going from P6 to P3, where the top 3 stayed, McLaughlin led his Aussie teammate home by 1.17 seconds and his countryman by just 1.6 seconds. Quote, "We did exactly what we needed to do this weekend, which was win and get max points to keep ourselves in the championship fight," said the 3-time race winner Scott McLaughlin, who led, by the way, 104 laps and sits just 41 points behind current points leader Will Power. Yeah, we were a long shot. I don't care because we have a shot, so I'm looking forward to it. McLaughlin's composure throughout the event was remarkable as he outperformed his teammates and the rest of the field with relative ease. Quote, "Those are 2 guys you really don't want to be breathing down your neck," he said of Power and Dixon. "I'm really proud of the restart. I've worked very hard the last couple years to learn the tire and to get it ready for those restarts. Thankfully, we held on. It was pretty dicey behind me. I saw in the mirrors that Will almost got taken out. It was pretty wild, but that's why we love IndyCar racing, right?" Arrow McLaren SP's Pato Award in the number 5 Chevrolet held on to P3 on the restart. but was judged by IndyCar officials to have blocked Dixon and was ordered to surrender the position. He'd end up finishing P4, 13.8 seconds behind winner McLaughlin. With Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan's Graham Rahal and the number 15 Quartz Honda making up 6 positions to take P5, 14.8 seconds behind, and in P6, Colton Herta, which we'll have some interesting news about him later in the show. In the number 26 Gainbridge Honda, putting a solid drive in for the day for Andretti Autosport. Penske's Joseph Newgarden was looking like he was on his way to finishing P3 or P4, but a strategy call too close on the race to the slower on the slower Firestone primary tires backfired, and he was passed repeatedly over the last 16 laps, dropping to P8, and he and now Scott Dixon are 20 points behind leader Will Power. Other than a harmless spin by Jimmy Johnson, a long trip across the grass by Roman Grosjean, Christian Lundgaard plowing into an advertising banner in turn 1, and pitting at the end of the lap to have it removed. Oh, and don't forget, Connor Daly's day ending after a fire in his rear car and cooked the clutch conspired against his mullet-slit self. The perennial race was largely free from drama. The most meaningful outcome was narrowing of a real title contenders list from 7 to just 3. Those 3 names, it's Will Power, Joseph Newgarden, and the GOAT, Scott Dixon. On Friday, the process of crowning a new champion will begin in Monterey, California for the Grand Prix of Monterey. So before we get into the results of the Grand Prix of Portland, and then we'll take a look at those tight point standings that we talked about, let's go ahead and hear from some of the drivers that participated this past Sunday.
So race is done now. Made it all 110 laps. Definitely on the right strategy. Probably just missing a little bit of pace. We finished where we started. Strategy got us forward. Pace kind of brought us back a little bit, so we ended up equal with where we started. Super happy with that because we brought the car home and got some good points there ahead of the people that we need to be ahead of. And can't be any more satisfied than that. And we'll go into Laguna next week with heads high and hopefully finish off the season strong.
So we just finished the race, and we finished. Where did we finish? 14, and we started 10th. I mean, the start was great. We went around the outside of everybody. I think we came out 7th or 6th after it, which was very nice. And our first stint was very good on reds, and then we decided to put the primaries on to see where the pace was and choose which tires we wanted to go for the rest of the race. And the primaries really, really sucked. We had no pace on the primaries. All the hard work on the start was lost, so we fell all the way back to like 16th. And me and Felix kind of just cruised along because we were on that same strategy and we were both struggling. So he did a bit of like a cut over something like that. I can't really remember, but we were kind of always together. And then on the last stint, yellow flag, everybody got bunched up. And then we went, and for some reason the rears just went away from us, and we had so much push to pass, nobody else had push to pass, and we still couldn't do anything. So not the way we wanted it to go, but thankfully it seemed like Lundgaard had a bit of a moment with his race, had a pass or something, but we closed that gap, and now it's within 5 points. So consistency is key. The turtle always wins the race, so I will see you at Laguna, where we will be the rabbit and not mess it up, and we will be up there. So, yeah.
Portland race, it was a good side and not so good side.
Congratulations, Scott.
We were hoping to have more yellows, and then we were committed for 2-stop strategy at the very, very beginning. So knowing that sacrificing the pace but saving the fuel, at that time and getting to the 10-15 laps, we just realized it's impossible. So we had to go back to the full power and then catch the front. At that time, I think our car was working really well, and strategy-wise, we stick to what we think is the best. and we overtook a couple of cars. And pit stop, the 51 boys did a fantastic job and get me out on a couple of positions, so that was fantastic. But on my first yellow and only yellow, we had an issue on the pack cap. Wasn't really intention, but unfortunately we got some penalty, and then that's dropped me back on a 3 places. So in the end it's difficult. We came up in 18th, but it's not really ideal, but I think the team working really hard, and hopefully we have a stress-free, penalty-free, trouble-free, a good weekend at the Laguna Seca.
Huge thank you to those drivers there, allowing a little bit of their time and sharing their thoughts as to what took place there in their eyes this past Sunday at Portland. And let's dive into now those results from the race here as they slowly come up on screen. It was Scott McLaughlin, Will Power, Scott Dixon, Pato Award, Graham Rahal, Colton Herta, Alexander Rossi, Joseph Newgarden, Callum Eilert. Some news about Juncos Hollander Racing and Callum Eilert coming up later in the show as well. And then rounding out the top 10 was Felix Rosenqvist. At P11 was Marcus Ericsson, Alex Palou, Kyle Kirkwood, David Malukas, Jack Harvey, Devlin DiFrancesca, Elio Castroneves, Takuma Sato, Roman Grosjean, and rounding out the top 20 was Rinus VK. And wrapping up the results here, 21 through 25, it was Christian Lundgaard, Dalton Kellett, Simon Pagenaud, Jimmy Johnson, and finishing 25th, again out of the race due to mechanical issues, was Connor Daly. So let's take a look now at the points as we go into the last race. If you can believe it or not, folks, the last race of the 2022 NTT IndyCar Series. Taking a look, the leader there by 20 points with one race to go is Will Power. Then it is followed Joseph Newgarden, Scott Dixon, Marcus Ericsson, Scott McLaughlin, Alex Palou, Pato Award, Colton Herta, Alexander Rossi, Felix Rosenqvist, Graham Rahal, and then in 12th is Rinus VK. In 13th, Roman Grosjean, and then it's Simon Pagenaud, Christian Lundgaard, David Malukas. Remember, Lundgaard right now is the highest running rookie in points this year. Then it's Connor Daly, Elio Castroneves, Takuma Sato, Callum Eilert, Jimmy Johnson, Jack Harvey, Devlin DiFrancesca, Kyle Kirkwood, and then finishing up is Dalton Kellett. So that wraps it up for our look at what took place this past weekend at Portland. I'm sure that when Mike joins us here towards the end of the show, I mean, obviously he'll go over what he's seen this weekend in Portland, what his his bets that he made that is in his wheelhouse, how they did. So you'll get to hear a little bit more perspective on the Portland race coming up towards the end of tonight's show. But looking forward, like I said, we do have one more race left, if you can believe it. The 2022 NTT IndyCar Series season is slowly winding to an end, and everything is going to come together, going to cumulate together this weekend at Monterey, California for the Firestone Grand Prix of Monterey. So let's take a preview. Let's take a look at what to expect this weekend here at the Firestone Grand Prix of Monterey. Like I said, the race weekend does kick off tomorrow, Friday, September 9th and then concludes obviously with the last race of the season on Sunday, September 11th. As I mentioned at the top of the show, the track that everyone is going to be competing at is the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. It is a 2.238 mile road course, and again, that is in Monterey, California. The NTT IndyCar Series is going to run 95 laps, and that will equal 261 miles. So before we get into any more of the preview and the race specifics coming up this weekend, let's talk to some of the drivers that are going to be competing this weekend at the Grand Prix of Monterey, and let's get their thoughts on this upcoming race to conclude the 2023 NTT IndyCar Series season.
All right, so Laguna coming up this weekend, final race of the year, back in the number 8 Husky Chocolate car, and we want to go out strong. You know, we still have a chance on the championship, so all we can do is to go there and try and win the race and then see how things shake out. So I'm excited. I feel like we're going to have a strong package there with the testing a week ago, and we had a good test there, so really looking forward to it. And like I said, when I finish the season strong, a win would be nice. That's what we're aiming for.
The last one of these for the year. Hooray. These have been my favorite thing to do all season long, and I hope that you've all found them very useful on the receiving end of these amazing, in-depth, hard-hitting video quotes that we've sent along all season long. So with that being said, straight to the juicy stuff. Fired up to be in Laguna. It has always been a bucket list track. So to have tested there a few times now, to have competed last year, to come back to close out the 22 season. It's such a marquee event, a track that's always been on my hit list. Very excited about that. So ultimately, just wanting to build on my great performance I had there last year, and I'm looking forward to some great California weather.
Last race of the year, I guess, we're kind of almost to the goal for us. I think for us to be in the fight for the championship is what we set out. 2 goals. The team won the Indianapolis 500 with Marcus, which is tremendous. And, definitely top off the season if we can capture, especially on my side, a 7th championship would be crazy. So we'll do all that we can. It's definitely going to be a tough race here on Laguna Seca. Degradation is probably going to be very high. The race should be pretty exciting and probably pretty tough to see who the final winner is going to be. I think until maybe a long ways after halfway. So let's see what we got. We can only try.
All right, last race of the season. Unfortunately, Portland wasn't the best for us. Qualified really well, and we had some issues during the race, so we're out, unfortunately, of the championship contention. But cannot wait to finish this year strong. Hopefully, we can get that first win of the season, and just enjoying the last race of this season. So we'll be rocking the number 10 NTT Data Honda car, and can't wait to put it on victory lane.
Huge thank you to all of the drivers that participated in giving a little bit of insight, giving a little preview as to what is in store this weekend and in Monterey, California. And interesting finishing with Alex Palou. Is that going to be the last time that we see Alex Palou in the number 10 NTT Data car for Chip Ganassi Racing? That remains to be seen, obviously. Taking a look at the entry list this weekend, or for this weekend's race, it is Joseph Newgarden, Scott McLaughlin, Dalton Kellett, Pato O'Ward, Elio Castroneves, Felix Rosenquist, Marcus Ericsson, Scott Dixon, Alex Palou, Will Power, Kyle Kirkwood, Graham Rahal, Simona Di Silvestro. Some news coming up, as I've teased later in the show, about Simona in Peretta Autosports as well. So stay tuned for that. David Malukas, Connor Daly, Renus Rike, Colton Herta, Alexander Rossi, Roman Grosjean, Delvin DeFrancesca, Christian Lundgaard, Jack Harvey, Jimmy Johnson, Takuma Sato, Simon Pagenaud, and Callum Ilott. So that rounds out your entry list for this weekend's race. As for getting back to some of the parameters, some of the details inside the race, obviously, push to pass this weekend. The NTT IndyCars are going to be allotted 150 seconds total of push to pass, which is a maximum time of 15 seconds per activation. As well, I know a lot of people worry or wonder what the tire situation is going to be like. Well, the Firestone, obviously the official tire of the NTT IndyCar Series, each team is going to have 6 sets of the primary black tires, 4 sets of the alternate red tires, and then teams obviously must use 1 set of the primary tires and 1 set of the new alternate red tires during the race. And then the rookies there in the NTT IndyCar Series, those teams are going to be given a 7th set of primary black tires that are going to be available to them. If you're on social media and you have not followed this weekend's activities, you can go to @WeatherTech Raceway RCWY on Twitter. And then all season long, if you've been following on Twitter, the NTT IndyCar Series, that is simply @IndyCar. Taking a look at the race last year, the winner was Colton Herta in the number 26 Gamebridge Honda. And then also to the 2021 NTT P1 award winner was the eventual race winner, Colton Herta in the number 26 Gamebridge Honda with a lap of 1 minute 10 seconds and 1 minute 10 seconds 0.7994 at a speed of 113.798 miles per hour. The qualifying record for the IndyCar Series here at Laguna Seca was done in right now by Elio Castroneves with a time of 1 minute 7 seconds 0.722 seconds at a speed of 118.696 miles per hour. And that was way back, ladies and gentlemen, September 8th, 2020. Looking at the on-track schedule, the NTT IndyCar Series will get their practices kicked off tomorrow, Friday, September 9th at 2:30 p.m., and that will last until 3:45 p.m. And then on to Saturday, the NTT IndyCar Series will have their second practice, Saturday, September 10th, from 10:15 to 11:15 a.m. And then at 2:05 p.m., it is the Firestone Grand Prix of Monterey NTT P1 Award qualifying. That is 3 rounds of knockout qualifying. And like I said, that will start at 2:05 p.m. And then on Sunday, from 9 to 9:30, it'll be the NTT IndyCar Series final practice. And then the drivers will get the command to start their engines at 12:23 p.m., followed by the green flag dropping on the Firestone Grand Prix of Monterey at 12:30 p.m. Just taking a look at some of the championship facts here. Keep in mind that Will Power, as we mentioned earlier, does lead the NTT IndyCar Series points championship with 1 race to go. And this is the 5th time in his career that he has had the lead in the championship points standings. Power previously led the championship with 1 race to go in 2010, 2011, 2012, and 2014, and he was able to hold on to win the points championship in 2014. Like we mentioned earlier as well, there are 5 drivers still mathematically eligible for the 2022 NTT IndyCar Series Championship. That is Will Power, Joseph Newgarden, Scott Dixon, Marcus Ericsson, and Scott McLaughlin. Just taking a look at some other things here. on maybe the race side of things here. Like I mentioned, the distance 95 laps, 214.51 miles. Who's been good? I think you have to give the nod to both Penske and Ganassi teams. They have had they've had a lot of numbers here as of late on this track. Taking a look at maybe potentially some of the Firestone Fast Six potential qualifiers there as we look forward to Saturday. I would definitely keep my eye on Colton Herta, Alexander Rossi, Pato Award, Felix Rosenquist, Alex Palou, Will Power, and Joseph Newgarden. And then some people that may just be, maybe sleepers that you want to keep your eye on, obviously, when it comes to the Fast Six. Christian Lundgaard, Scott McLaughlin, Rinus VeeKay, Scott Dixon, Callum Ilott, David Malukas, and Romain Grosjean. Now, on the fantasy side of things, obviously, we'll talk about betting here in about 10 minutes or so with Mike from Bet_Indy on Twitter, Burnout Sports, Burnout Bets. But some of the favorites that I'm going to have, and it's going to be interesting to see, as we have done all season long, to see if Mike confirms these as he has. But I'm definitely taking a solid look on the fantasy side of things. Colton Herta, Alex Palou, Alexander Rossi, Scott Dixon, and then all of the drivers from the Team Penske stable, obviously, for the simple fact that all three of them are still in contention for the points championship. Somebody that may come back from deeper in the pack to keep your eye on, Romain Grosjean, Marcus Ericsson, Simon Pagenaud, Graham Rahal, and Callum Ilott. So if you're looking for a sleeper this weekend, that might be somebody, one of those drivers there in that group may be somebody that you want to take a look at and maybe throw a bet or two his way and see how the chips may fall. Some of the people or some of the teams maybe as well that I'm looking to fade this weekend. Arrow McLaren, SP, Ed Carpenter Racing. They haven't had a great track record here at Laguna Seca, and then AJ Foyt Racing as well. So those are some of the teams and drivers that I am looking at fading this week here at Laguna Seca. Some race notes that we have here right before Mike joins us here in the next few minutes. There have been 8 different winners in the 16 NTT IndyCar Series races in this 2022 season. You've had Scott McLaughlin there, the streets of St. Petersburg, Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, and last weekend at the Portland International Raceway. You've had Joseph Newgarden at the Texas Motor Speedway, the streets of Long Beach, Road America, the Iowa Speedway, the first race of that doubleheader, and then at Worldwide Technology Raceway just a few weeks ago. Pato Award with his 2 victories as well, one at Barber Motorsport Park, and then the second of the doubleheader races there at Iowa Speedway. Colton Herta won during the month of May at the IMS road course, the first of 2 races there this year. And then also, too, can't forget the unbelievable Indianapolis 500 that we had with winner Marcus Ericsson. Will Power winning the last race there at Belle Isle before that is moved to downtown Detroit in 2023. Scott Dixon, the streets of Toronto and the streets of Nashville. And then rounding out the different winners this year was Alexander Rossi winning the second race there at the IMS road course this year. The record for most different winners in a season is 11, which took place surprisingly in 2020, 2021, and 2014. The Firestone Grand Prix of Monterey will be the 25th the 25th IndyCar Series race at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, but just the third since 2004. Also, too, want to take a look at some of the active winners here. If I can get that information pulled up, let me go through the notes here real quick to see how many active drivers that we still currently have in the series that have won at Laguna Seca. It looks like we have just two. Elio Castroneves scored a win in 2000. And it looks like Colton Herta has scored 2 wins at Laguna Seca, once in 2019 and then last year in 2021. So a lot of things waiting to be played out here, as 21 drivers entered the event, have competed rather in the past IndyCar Series races at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Elio Castroneves leads this group with 5 starts. Among the drivers entered, 6 entered drivers have led laps at Laguna Seca. Colton Herta with 174 laps led, Elio Castroneves with 92, Will Power with 6, Roman Grosjean with 4, Scott Dixon with 2, and Simon Pagenaud has led 1 lap here as well. So, like I said, a lot more to iron out here as we get down to the last race of the 2022 season. Also, just because we're down to the last race does not mean this will be the last podcast for the 2022 season. We will be back next Thursday, and Josh will be back here as well. So join us there as we wrap up our coverage of the Grand Prix of Monterey out there at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, and we put a big red bow on this 2022 NTT IndyCar Series. Definitely going to be exciting, and then we'll be looking forward to what could be a very entertaining and interesting 2023 season. But first, we do need to crown a champion. As we said, there are 5 drivers that are still eligible. 3 of them come from the Penske stable. So I think the Penske kind of has the great odds going into to this weekend to bringing home another points championship there for the captain, as all 3 of his drivers, Will Power, your current points leader, Joseph Newgarden, and Scott McLaughlin, are all still eligible right there, with 2 Chip Ganassi guys and Marcus Ericsson and Scott Dixon, respectively. So definitely a lot still to iron out here as we get down to race weekend this weekend. Some more notes as I'm going through here while we wait for Mike to join us here shortly. The last 4 Laguna Seca winners have came from the front row, with 3 of those which coming from the pole. 21 of the last 25 visits, 1 from a top 3 starter, 15 from the pole, and 4 of them from P2. 22 of the 23 have gone from the top 6 starting in general. And then also, too, something I think we definitely need to keep in mind is the older track surface here at WeatherTech Laguna Seca. Tons of tire fall off, kind of similar to people that pay attention to NASCAR. And it's similar to Darlington in a sense of low grip and high tire wear. Just have to slow down to go fast, and you definitely in and out of all of those turns. You definitely have to go at them pretty smoothly. So, like I said, a lot to iron out here, a lot to finish up as we head to Laguna Seca this weekend. And I'm curious to hear as Mike should be joining us here rather shortly for his take on what's going to take place this weekend. Not only his take in what's going to take place, obviously, in the race, but on the betting aspect of things. And I'm kind of curious too as well to get his take from last week to see how well he did there at Portland as well. And I'm looking on Twitter, and if you're watching the Thursday night NFL game to get the 2022 NFL season kick-started, I guess NBC, obviously where the game is on, just ran a promo for this weekend's race at WeatherTech Laguna Seca. So that is interesting. Curious to see what the eyeballs, what the ratings look like with this promo being ran through primetime television, obviously, right in the first game of the year. Also, too, taking a look at what the weather could do this weekend. The weather obviously could play a huge part in the deciding factor of this race, obviously. But it looks like right now, according to at IndyCar WX Man there over there on Twitter, Indy weather update, Friday looks pretty good. Should see cloud cover associated with hashtag KAY. I'm not sure what that is. Moving in on Saturday, maybe a shower or two overnight / early Sunday, but nothing really expected that's going to have any impact as of right now on Sunday's race. So weather definitely looks good as well. So I do see that our guest, our weekly guest here, has stopped by. It's been an amazing adventure this year. Not only get to know this gentleman, but his how much money he has made people over this NTT IndyCar Series. But Mike from Burnout Sports, Burnout Bets, joins us. First and foremost, before we get into the race this weekend, I know people are on the edge of their seat, Mike, wondering how you did last week.
Yeah, man, I'm sad this IndyCar season is going to end. Made some more money last week, another good week. Didn't have the winner, but you don't need the winner to make money when you're gambling on motorsports and plenty of other things too. Had Willpower top 3. That was a cash. That was one I was big on throughout the week, starting off early in the week and then through the end of the week. And then also, I don't know how I cashed this one, but I had to go back to the account. I bet Scott Dixon top 3, and I'd all but tore that ticket up after qualifying. But when I went back in, and it was a winner. He came up to the back, and there was a handicap behind it. There was reasons behind that. Fuel saving race, good track history, and he didn't qualify well, but he got that top 3 done. And then of course the matchups, which is where I tell where I've told you guys all year long, like that's where you have the best chance to make money. The best odds, one-on-one, one driver versus another. And it had another great week with those. It was 2-0 on the matchups, faded Grosjean and faded VK. So it was another winning week. So didn't have any McLaughlin, unfortunately. We were talking about top 3. I know Tony had top 3 McLaughlin bets, so that was good. But another winning week in the books, and it's too bad it's coming to an end here with only one race to go.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It does stink that it is coming to an end. But as we talked about last week, NFL football, college football has just kicked off. So you can go from making money on IndyCar to now going to college football, NFL football there as well. I did put in some money on not only Scott McLaughlin, but I did put money on Christian Lundgaard. I thought he had a strong chance after qualifying this past weekend to win. Obviously, it just wasn't his day, but I did make up a little bit with the McLaughlin bet there.
All right, yeah, good bet.
So, All right. Looking forward, as you said, as we've talked about here, it is coming to a close. The last race of the year, the Firestone Grand Prix of Monterey at WeatherTech Laguna Seca. Mike, tell us a little bit about what to look forward to, and then what are some of your favorites as the odds come out today?
Yeah, so the whole week was spent waiting for IndyCar odds to come out. You mentioned it, football season, which means the sports books don't have a ton of interest in putting out their IndyCar bets and IndyCar lines very fast. I am still refreshing constantly all night long at the books that I bet on. I have not seen any IndyCar lines in places that I can bet, which sucks because I want to bet and I have some bets ready to go, and I'm curious what the numbers are going to be. But the story of the week has been, hey, what from a betting perspective, what number are we going to get hurt at? Back-to-back winner, dominated here last year, dominates this track. Where the book's going to give us a really good number on hurt. I put a poll out on Twitter, and I was actually low. I was thinking, he wouldn't get anything better than 5-1. But you saw DraftKings open him up at 8-1, 9-1. Caesars, I believe, still has him sitting at 7-1. The number's moving around quick, so shop around, get the best number. But Herta is the play. You can get Herta at better than 5-1 pre-qualifying. 6-1, 7-1, 8-1. That's definitely worth a bet. Worth maybe 1-2 units if you got that, depending on how much you're willing to spend. But Herta's the guy. Herta's the guy you want to target. Herta's the guy who was looking for the number. And I was hoping the sportsbooks would be paying attention to football. The problem is they're paying too much attention to football. I don't even put any damn lines out. But, the books that do have the lines out, Caesars and DraftKings, I've seen it both out now, in certain states. So if you got that, if your book's offering a high number on Herta, I would grab that before the race, before qualifying here. The other guys that have my eye on before qualifying, Rossi. Rossi was really good here last year. If you remember, he was neck and neck with Herta 1-2. He got a little overzealous and he could have taken them both out, but he put himself into the wall in his car. And then Power had a strong race as well, had a mechanical problem, which is uncharacteristic for Penske. And then Power's obviously, he's got some extra motivation to win this title, which worries me a little bit about him winning the race, flying up. But if I see a good number on Power, I think he's going to qualify well, so I'll take a little nibble at that. But Power, Rossi, and then obviously it's all about Herta. How good of a number can you find on Herta? Herta to win, Herta top 3. This is one where maybe instead of splitting the bets, I feel strongly about Herta just running away with it. I would actually maybe go like 75-25, 75 on the win money and 25% on the top 3. And then the rest of it will be wait till Sunday and hopefully we get some matchups. I don't know why IndyCars, I don't know why they do this where they try to go up against football head to head on the first football Saturday or Sunday of the year. Like that's crazy. We have all summer we can race, but that's a different show. That's for you guys to talk about. And I'm just trying to find ways to gamble on it, but I'll have a screen on football and a screen on the race on Sunday.
Yeah, that is kind of a head scratcher. Why IndyCar is trying to go up against the opening week of the NFL. That's definitely something that needs to be looked into. But I like some of the people, some of the drivers you talked about, and I think maybe for different reasons. The first 3 that I have from a fantasy perspective. First of all, right off the bat, you mentioned it, Colton Herta. Interesting news coming out this week about potentially him going to F1. So is this going to be his swan song, so to say, finishing his career potentially in IndyCar right now, three-peating at Laguna Seca? Definitely a storyline to watch out for. And then all of the hoopla and what has been Alex Palou versus Chip Ganassi. I like Alex this weekend as well, especially he could go out on top because this may be the last race we see Alex in the number 10 for Chip Ganassi. And then how does Alexander Rossi finish his career with Andretti Autosport? Does he go out on top? So those are the first 3 that I looked at that I liked. And then just to round out mine was Scott Dixon, obviously, the GOAT of the IndyCar Series and right there in points. And then, how can you bet wrong all year against any of the 3 Penske drivers? I don't think you can go wrong with either 3 of those.
Yeah, I think that's why you probably have to wait till after qualifying and then look for those matchups. Maybe bet some top threes. Newgarden and McLaughlin, they're all at the top of the board. Those numbers are probably too short. Scott was 4-1, Joseph's 4-1, Power 5-1. Those guys. I'm probably Pelot 7.5-1. That's not bad at Caesars. Rossi 10-1 looks good. Dixon 12-1 looks good. That's a good number to Dixon. I love to bet top threes. That was I probably made more money on Scott Dixon top threes in the last 5 years than any other bet. Maybe him and Power. Dixon is a machine. He knows how to get there. He's gonna be going for the title. I always think putting money on top three for him is a good way to play it. And if they're going to drop him at 12-1 to win, you'll probably get 2-1 or 3-1 for his top three, which is a great number. So you can grab that, and that's a good way. Like I said, you don't have to get the winner necessarily, but if you can get 2 of the 3 on the podium, you're going to make money betting IndyCar. So the only other guy, the long shot, we saw a lot. Grosjean, I was thinking at first, all right, 30-1. That's worth just a little scratch. He obviously knows his way around this track. But at the same time, he probably could have crashed out 18 times. I watched the highlight replay. He was just doing some stupid stuff. And I think most of the guys are kind of pissed at him. I don't know if he's going to get away with what he got away with last year. So I think he's probably more likely to crash out than for me to waste my money in the 31. But if you're a Grosjean fan and you saw last year, you believe in that he's going to have more guts around this track than anybody else, 30-1 is a long shot bet there.
Interesting from the dark horse perspective there of the betting angle, Romain Grosjean, because he was the top of my list for sleepers for fantasy this week as well. So again, we have been, me and you have been working, I think in meshing all year with our favorites and our sleepers and such. Also, I like to keep an eye on and curious to get your thoughts sleeper wise. Marcus Ericsson, Simon Pagenaud, Graham Rahal, Callum Ilott.
Yeah, Rahal and Ilott would be on my list out of those two. Pagenaud, I think, is just going backwards. The car's been crap. He just hasn't had the same kind of. You got to remember when you look at some of his history, it's in a Penske car. Big difference when you have that machinery underneath you. So Rahal, Rahal was strong here last year. He was one of the guys that got the fresh tires. He finished 4th. He let Grosjean kind of push him out of the way there, as Grosjean pushed multiple people out of the way last year. And Ilott's been solid. He's been a guy I've been eyeing in some of these group bets, and then maybe some of these top 5 bets. He's had some really good races as of late here, coming on strong. He's 50-1. Graham's 50-1 to win. Ilott's 50-1 to top 3. So hey, that might be worth a couple bucks for him to maybe score top 3, top 5. Look at him. But yeah, I'm with you. I would go Graham and Ilott. Simon's a fade for me in that list. And Ericsson too. Like Ericsson, I think has gone backwards since the 500 win. He's gone backwards like most 500 winners do in the second half of the year. It's weird how that happens, but yeah, I don't think Ericsson's going to be on my radar. Too many other guys I like.
Good stuff, Mike. Good stuff as always, as it's been all year. I don't know if you and Tony have discussed having a Twitter Spaces this weekend, but I'm sure it'll be discussed and decided upon amongst yourselves.
Yeah, we will definitely. I'm sure we'll definitely do something. We were kind of waiting for more odds to come out across the board. They were late to the party here with the odds, so we didn't get one in just yet. We may snag one tomorrow, but definitely keep an eye on Twitter. Follow at Burnout Bets. Follow myself at Indy_bet, and we will put out there if we're going to be doing Twitter Spaces on Sunday, which I'm sure we will. People have been tuning into those, and we've been making a ton of money and been all over some good stuff, gotten some good information, and put it to work. So I think right now, pre-qualifying, it's like I said, Herta, find the best Herta number you can find, and if it's over 6-1, you did well. And then, see if you want to pick off maybe some of those other guys and then wait to see how they qualify. And then we'll wrap up the year and we'll see who our champion is. I think Power wins the title is what that's who my rooting interest is for. I'm a Power fan. I love Power. So I hope he gets another one.
Yeah, I think he's going to close out the dominant year Penske has had overall, and adding another points championship to the captain's trophy. I'm right there with you, Mike, as well. But as I said, as always, huge thank you all year. The information that you've brought to this show is unmeasurable. Again, for people that don't follow you already, and that's sad on them, because they could be going out and getting brand new TVs with the money that you've won this year. But again, where can people find you at, and on Twitter Spaces this weekend?
At Indy_bet, like I said. Also, everything will be tagged through the @Burnout Bets account, and you'll see some stuff on @Burnout Sports as well that's Tony's putting out there. So yeah, man, it's been fun. Hopefully we got some more people into betting IndyCar, and they learned how to do it, and had some fun, and had some good sweats. There were some good ones throughout the year, thinking back, and hopefully they made some money and just made watching the sport a little more exciting, and maybe got us some new IndyCar fans so we can grow the sport.
Yeah, I know it has with me the information and knowledge that you, Tony, and everyone else has brought into the table, both at Burnout Sports and Burnout Bets. So again, Mike, as always, huge thank you. Hopefully we'll look forward to winning some money this weekend, and then when we wrap things up next week, we'll find out how you did.
All right, man. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too. Again, if you haven't followed yet, Mike on Twitter over there at Indy_bet, or at Burnout Sports, Burnout Bets, I would highly suggest going and doing that, and adding a big green bow this weekend to your bank account after Sunday's race. Before we wrap things up here at the Push to Pass podcast, we have one more item of business to take care of. We do have some news and notes from the week. No, not Scott McLaughlin yet, but we do have some news and notes to get to. So before we gas it up on out of here, let's take a look at the news and notes for the week that was in the NTT IndyCar Series. As we've talked about, and we've kind of teased a little bit, some news, interesting news, the beginning of the week to start our race week with, and that was Colton Herta. Apparently, and again, nothing has been confirmed by either side, but it sounds like from the paddock that Colton Herta is on the verge of a F1 race seat with Red Bull Junior Team Alpha Tura. I believe that's how that's pronounced. But as I said, Colton Herta is on the verge of joining Formula One with Red Bull Junior Team Alpha Tura in 2023, pending a decision on his FIA Super license. Herta, who's 22, obviously currently races in the NTT IndyCar Series. Remember, he did test a F1 car this year with McLaren, and has been linked with a seat at Alpha Tura if Pierre Gasly leaves the team for Alpine as Fernando Alonso's replacement. The Californian does not currently have the 40 super license points required to drive in F1 from his race results in other series. The FIA Motorsports governing body has been looking into making exceptions for Herta around points scored during COVID-reduced seasons, given how close he is to the necessary mark. Helmut Marko, the head of Red Bull's famous driver program, is confident with the exception will be made for Herta. Quote, "We've looked at the regulations, we've discussed it with the FIA, and because of COVID, there's a special regulation that you can take 3 years from 4, and as if one result isn't maximum points and outside the driver's hands, they can give them the points," Marka told Speed City Broadcasting on XM Radio. Quote, "So it's nothing unreasonable. He won 7 IndyCar races, and that's compared to a Grand Prix, I think. So it would be a shame if he is not given a super license." When asked if Herta will race in F1 if he gets approval, Marko replied, "Astonishingly enough, all of the parties and teams involved, we found an agreement." Marco added that he expected the super license decision to come next week at Monza ahead of the Italian Grand Prix. The news would likely mean confirming of Gasly's move to Alpine too, with Marco added, if the deal works, then it happens in Monza, also for Pierre, of course. A super license for Herta could prove to be controversial. The system is set up to ensure drivers cannot enter F1 without enough good championship results in other systems. F1 boss Stefano Donclawi said earlier this week the sport must be careful not to set a precedent for the sake of one driver. Quote, the sport needs to respect the rules, Donclawi told Autosport, and of course, American drivers or other drivers are very important. If he is eligible to come to F1 because he has points, that's fantastic news. But there is a ladder to follow. There is protocol to respect, and that is the situation. So it's really what I believe is the right thing to do. So definitely stay tuned here over the weekend to the Push to Pass podcast and all of the news coming from this outlet. If we get a decision or if we get news on what Colton Herta's future is going to be, we will definitely bring it to you. Speaking of more news from the series, this was an announcement we knew was coming, and it was just a matter of when. Juncos Hollander Racing to expand for the 2023 NTT IndyCar Series season. The much-anticipated announcement was made official today. Juncos Hollander Racing is excited to announce the team will field a second full-time entry for the 2023 NTT IndyCar Series season. Callum Ilott will continue to drive the number 77 JHR Chevrolet, and the driver of the new number 78 JHR Chevrolet will be announced at a later date. Throughout the season, and being the only one-car team among the NTT IndyCar Series, the JHR 77 has qualified inside the top 12 5 times, with a best qualifying run of 7th at both the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course and at the streets of Toronto. Ilott's season best finish came at the Indianapolis Grand Prix in May, where he finished 8th. Quote, to be able to announce this today and make this a reality is incredible, said JHR co-owner and team principal Ricardo Juncos. Having stood by our words from the beginning that we would continue to grow and expand, and that is what we are doing. For us, expanding to a 2-car team is very exciting to announce, but was also our plan from the past year since we joined the NTT IndyCar Series full time. We wanted to start this year with 1 car to start the protocols and procedures for the team, continued Juncos. Our philosophy that if we work with is a little different than the standards. So we wanted to make sure we implemented our plan right away by focusing on 1 car before we expanded. We are doing exactly as we planned and will continue with our 2-car team for the foreseeable future, starting in 2023. We are going to keep building this team the way Brad and I planned from the beginning, and to do what is best in the terms of development, technical, marketing, and everything else. So huge congratulations goes out to Juncos Hollander Racing and their ability to expand their operations in 2023. Something else that we talked about here as well, and now the graphic won't come up, so we'll go back to the news and notes graphic. But Scott McLaughlin, who we've talked about a lot here, obviously the winner of last week's race and maybe a favorite, waiting for the numbers to come out for this weekend's race. Well, team owner Roger Penske sees the future at Penske, and that future won't be leaving anytime soon. The 3-time Australian Supercars champion And 3-time NTT IndyCar Series race winner Scott McLaughlin will spend the next years of his life in the number 3 Team Penske Chevrolet after recently signing a multi-year contract extension. Quote, Scott took a big gamble when he came to IndyCar, as he knew he would be leaving a series where he knew he could thrive for years to come, said Team Penske president Tim Cindric. To see him have the success he has had so far has been really satisfying, as we were confident in his talents. We didn't know how long it would take him to gain the confidence in himself. Scott has adjusted quickly and has established himself as someone who can win at any track during one of the most competitive eras of IndyCar racing. He continues to be a great representative of our partners and has connections well with race fans and has had connects. And he connects well with race fans all over the world. We are excited that he will continue to be a part of the Team Penske legacy for years to come. McLaughlin joined Team Penske in 2017 and went on to score consecutive supercar titles in 2018, 2019, and 2020 before making his transition to IndyCar, where he won Rookie of the Year honors in 2021. The 29-year-old is among 5 drivers with a chance to win the IndyCar championship this weekend in Monterey. So congratulations to Scott McLaughlin and his contract extension at Team Penske. That's going to keep him around there for quite a few years to come. And the last bit of news just coming down earlier today has to do with Paretta Autosports and their plan to expand their schedule in 2023. Beth Paretta has yet to declare how many NTT IndyCar Series races Simona Di Silvestro will do next year in the number 16 Paretta Autosport Chevrolet, but she is getting close to that answer. Quote from earlier today, I am really happy that we've been able to do what we set out to do, Paretta said. We said we would do 3 races, and then we added a 4th this weekend in Laguna Seca. And as I look at 2023, we would like to do more than 4 races. That would be progress. I know everybody wants to say they'll do a full schedule, and that's our goal eventually. Is that next year? I don't know if it is or if it's not. But if it's more than 4 races, then that's positive progress we'd be happy with, and we're trying to be realistic about the rate that we grow as well. The number 16 entry, which is fielded by Paretta Autosport by Ed Carpenter Racing, has featured new sponsors at every event, including this weekend's stop in Monterey. Thanks to the heightened commercial interest shown in her group of women racers, Paretta is confident about all that lies ahead. Quote, right now, my efforts are talking to our new partners about what next year looks like for them, she said, because almost all of our partners have indicated so far that they're excited for next year and are excited to carry on. So I'm in the process of seeing what each of those looks like. And I'm talking to Ed because we would like to stay with Ed Carpenter Racing. Chevy has a lot of faith in them, and I would like to continue working with them because I think Ed's team creates a healthy environment. I feel like on-track success, it'll come, and I really like the way that we all work together. There's a mutual respect that's going on with what we're trying to achieve with our program, and it's a good foundation. Along with trying to expand Paretta Autosport's footprint across the 2023 IndyCar calendar, the team continues to develop its roster of women who work on Di Silvestro's number 16 Chevrolet. So, again, to not only Beth Paretta and Paretta Autosports, but Simona Di Silvestro, the strides that they have made as a team this year and the strides that they are going to make in 2023. So that does it. That puts a checkered flag on this episode of the Push to Pass podcast. Huge thank you, as always, to Mike from Bet Indy. Burnout Sports, Burnout Bets. Go check him out. See what he has to say. and definitely win some money this weekend. If you have not already, if you would go on social media and give the Push to Pass podcast a follow or a subscription on YouTube, it would be much obliged. So for Derik Vance and everyone else here at the Push to Pass podcast, we will be back 1 week from now with the wrap-up show of the 2022 NTT IndyCar Series. So until then, we will see you next week.